This is Jamie Geisendorfer, and I will be teaching day 3 of my point of view unit. And today's lesson is entitled Kinesthetic Motions, and this is of the lower order of thinking. This is for the curriculum and instruction class taught by Dr. David Hazen. Today's lesson comes from the objective of determining an author's point of view or purpose in a text and analyzing how the author acknowledges and responds to conflicting evidence or viewpoints. We're just going to be focusing on the determining an author's point of view or purpose in a text for today's lesson. The student-led objective is 8th grade ELA students will recall the point of view actions when exiting the room with an accuracy of 100% as determined by teacher observation. Before we dive deep into our lesson, I would like to ask you, what is this picture? What is in this photograph? Okay, we've got a lot of different answers, it sounds like. Go ahead and raise your hand. Dylan? 2 faces. I can see 2 faces. Does anybody else see something different? Something besides 2 faces? Ashley? A vase. Okay, a vase. It would be of the dark outline, so it would be a dark vase, and then we have 2 white faces. Who's right and who's wrong? What do you think, Sharon? That's a good point of view you have there. They're both correct. I could agree with that because I can see the 2 faces, but I can also see the vase. If you only see one or the other, kind of maybe shut one of your eyes and squint, and you could see the other. Now, there is a vocabulary term that I'm thinking of to represent point of view, and it would go great with this picture that we're looking at. Can anybody think of it? John? Perspective. Right on. Nice job. If we take this activity and we apply it to reading, will a reader be confused about the point of view if it's not clearly established? You all are shaking your head yes. Why is that? Great discussion. Sometimes people can learn better if they visually can see things, whether it be an example or photographs. I know that I learn better that way. So what we're going to do is there is a teacher, his name is Mr. Turner, and he does a great job at explaining point of view, but he sketches pictures while he explains it. And this is one of my favorite videos to watch because I really felt that it helped me understand point of view better. So what we're going to do is as a class, we're going to watch him talk about point of view as he sketches it.
So, point of view. The concept of point of view is a pretty basic one to art and storytelling. It can be applied to life in general or to visual works of art like painting and movies, but I'm going to talk about it in terms of storytelling or narrative. So, narrative point of view. Narrative point of view is the perspective from which a story is told. To understand and talk about point of view, it's important to pay attention to a couple of different things. The first is the grammatical person, this category of pronouns. And the second is the level of insight that the narrator has. Grammatically speaking, person refers to the pronouns we use. Are we telling a story about ourselves or someone else? When a story uses the word I and me, it's being told in the first person. This is how we tell our own anecdotes from our lives, so it's natural to tell stories this way. A much stranger way to tell stories, and not often used, would be not to say what I am doing, but what you are doing. You go to the store and think to yourself, should I buy eggs? This is called second person. A much more common way to tell stories is to talk about other people, he, she, they, etc. Again, this seems natural to us because this is how we would tell true stories about people other than ourselves. This perspective is called third person. So first, second, third person, that's the first category. The second thing we need to be aware of when noticing or talking about point of view is the level of insight the narrator has into the inner workings of the character's mind. How much does the character know? Or does the narrator know, rather? If the narrator can't see or hear the thoughts or feelings of characters, we would call that an objective point of view. The narrator simply sees and hears everything much like a video camera does. Objective point of view. This can be placed at one end of a spectrum, where at the other end we have not a narrator, not like a camera, but more like some kind of God looking down at the whole world of the story. This kind of narrator knows everything and can tell the reader whatever they want. This is called an omniscient point of view. This is common, of course, because the writer usually is kind of in this position. They know everything that's going on because they invented it. It's their imagination. So they do kind of have this, point of view where they look over everything. And if they want to tell us what one person thinks, they can. And if they want to tell us what, a dog thinks or a plant thinks, that's completely up to them. Somewhere in the middle of this spectrum, between objectivity on one side and omniscience on the other side, there's an important perspective, and this is one in which the narrator knows the thoughts of just one character, the protagonist most likely. The narrator, we hear their thoughts and feelings of the protagonist, but for everyone else in the story, we can only guess what they're thinking based on what they do and say. This would be called the limited omniscient perspective. All three of these are kinds of third person, and you can see that there's a big similarity between first person and limited omniscient, because of course we only know what one person thinks in first person as well.
Now, what is the purpose of watching someone sketch out point of view pictures while they explain each perspective? It would help people make better connections. That's true. We're going to go ahead and continue with our visual learning. I love what Mr. Turner did drawing that sketch. And I've tried on end to screenshot that great picture he had, because that was something that my students last year said, man, we wish we had that, because that would really help us when we're trying to determine out which point of view it is. Sadly, I could not do it, but I did draw one myself, so please excuse the drawings. Except for second person, I'm pretty proud of that hand with that finger pointing at you. I thought that was a pretty good hand, but besides that, they're all kind of sad. But they do mimic what Mr. Turner came up with. So let's go ahead and go through this first person. Again, we're looking at the grammatical person. Those are those pronouns, those signal words. So first person, he is stating, so I said, and the word I is that first person pronoun. Second person is you, and third person, he did it. That he in that statement is the third person pronoun. Then we drop down to the second thing we needed to determine is the level of insight. The first one is objective. It sees things like a camera. There's no emotion, there's no feelings, it's straight facts. A lot of times we could think about maybe a documentary that you're watching would be objective. Next would be third person limited omniscient. You can see in that thought bubble, does he think I'm mad? While he's actually saying thank you. And then lastly, you have third person omniscient. They're the puppet master. They're all knowing. And then he thinks, oh no, that's in the thought bubble. So when you get to be third person omniscient, you get to play the God of your story and decide what your characters know, what they think, and what they feel. Another great way to understand content, though, is through movement. Actions are a resourceful way to remember the points of view as well. So what I did is I took the sketch that Mr. Turner came up with, and I developed motions or actions where we could use our hands that would help us figure out the different point of views. Because sometimes if we use our hands, it really helps us remember what we learn. So let's go ahead and go through those. So we have first person, which is I, me, my, those pronouns. Second person, you, kind of like you're snailing it, snail mail, you. Third person, it, he, she, the signal pronouns. So objective is like looking through a camera. So we take O's for objective, and we look through that camera. Limited, we take the L. It's like loser, but how many heads are we hitting? We're hitting one. So you're in one person's thoughts, so it's limited. And then omniscient is like you get to be the puppet master. You get to play God of the story because you're in everybody's minds and thoughts. So you take those puppet strings and you go omniscient. So altogether we have first person, I, me, my. Second person, you. Third person, it, he, she. Objective, limited, omniscient. So those actions are in relation to your sketch that you have right there in front of you. What I would like you to do is to repeat the actions. So let's go ahead. I'll do the first one. First person, I, me, my. Now you do it. Second person, you. Third person, it, he, she. Objective, limited, omniscient. And it helps when you say omniscient if you say it kind of different, kind of freaky, omniscient, like you get to be the puppet master, the one that's like, the person who's hiding behind the curtain, omniscient. Good. Next, what I would like you to do is get out your sketch, which it should not be too far away. It should be in front of you already. And I want you to look at the pictures for each point of view as we do the actions. Because sometimes just looking at the picture and using your hands for the motion and the movement can really help you have that aha moment, that moment of clarity where it just clicks. So first person, I, me, my. Second person, you. Third person, it, he, she. Objective, limited, omniscient. Good job. The next activity, we're going to need partners. So let's go ahead and get out our name sticks, and I'll draw your names and decide who's going to be in what partnership. Sarah and Chloe are together. Brian, Aaron, Dylan, and Stacy. Tristan and Colin. Emma and Hannah. Garrett and Megan. And then last but not least, Jennifer and Justin. I would like you to go sit by your partner, please. And one partner, please raise your hand. If your hand is raised, you are the lucky winner. You get to perform all the actions for your partner first. And then once you perform them all for your partner, they get to do it as well. So once one's done, then switch and begin. It looks like everybody did that. Good job. Go ahead and one person, it doesn't matter if it's the same one from last time, but one person from each group, please raise your hand. If your hand is raised, I'd like you to rotate to your right and find a new partner. Go. Now that you've moved, go ahead and perform the actions, each partner, every group. You may begin. Nice job. Please go back to your original seats. And as a class, one last time, let's perform all the actions together. First person, I, me, my. Second person, you. Third person, it, he, she. Objective, limited, omniscient. Nice job, ladies and gentlemen. What we're going to do next is I'm going to have a sentence and I'm going to project it on the board. Once you have figured out what the point of view is, I would like you to perform the action to signal your answer. And we'll share them whole group. But before we do that, when you identify the point of view, though, you will need to support your claim with substantial evidence. What is substantial evidence? Dylan? Facts. Okay, facts is one way to look at it. Anybody else? Sarah? Supporting details. That's a great way to phrase it. What are other times in your life when you have used substantial evidence? Justin? Science class when you're doing lab reports. Great example. And when should substantial evidence be used? What do we need when we use substantial evidence? Jennifer? A claim, an opinion. Good job. Well, let's go ahead and look at these sentences. This first one is from the book Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Over at the Ravenclaw table, Cho Chang was chatting animatedly with her friends. A few seats along from Cho, Luna Lovegood had got out the quibbler again. Meanwhile, at the Hufflepuff table, Ernie Macmillan was one of the few still staring at Professor Umbridge, but he was glassy-eyed, and Harry was sure he was only pretending to listen. Go ahead and perform the action to signal to me which point of view these sentences are. Okay, I'm seeing quite a few limited, and then I'm also seeing some first person and a couple of second person. The correct answer is third person limited. Why is it third person limited? Let's go ahead. Sarah, why is it third person limited? What is my substantial evidence? That is correct. Harry was for sure he was only pretending to listen. Because it says Harry was for sure, we're in Harry's mind. Let's go ahead and look at our next story. It comes from the book The Circuit. I held the front door open as Mama carefully carried out her pot by both handles, making sure not to spill the cooked beans. When she got to the car, Papa reached out to her with it. Roberto opened the rear car door and Papa gently placed it on the floor behind the front seat. What is the point of view? Go ahead and perform the action. I'm seeing a lot of third-person objectives and a couple of first-person. Correct answer is first person. What is my substantial evidence? One tiny, simple little letter, the word I. When you are just standing around, why are you just standing around doing nothing? You should be doing everything you can to help out Janet. This attitude you're giving off is very unappealing and will never get you what you want in life. It is second person. Good job. Majority of you guys got that one. My substantial evidence is what? Yep, the word you. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 pronouns of you. Feeling confident and superior, Devin gave his opponent Gwen a genuine smile as she walked past him. Though Gwen returned Devin's smile, she was suspicious of his kindness. He's probably gloating over my mistakes, Gwen thought angrily. What point of view is it? Tyler, you said third person omniscient, which is correct, but what is my substantial evidence? Good job. Feeling confident and superior. That is talking about Devin's emotions and his feelings. And then she was suspicious. That's something going on in Gwen's mind. The Boys and Girls Club is noisy and crowded, especially after 4 in the afternoon. James is usually there. He is always worrying about how he looks and constantly fusses with his hair. Of all the boys, he tries hardest to impress the girls. Jessica shows up every now and then and heads straight for the basketball court. Perform your actions. It is third person objective. Why? What's my substantial evidence? No feelings and no emotions. Straight facts. And there's third person pronouns. Good job. Catch me if you can. When somebody hits me, a crowd always cheers. I don't understand it, but it brings me to tears. It thrills people silly to throw me around and make me go bouncing across the hard ground. What have I done to deserve this cruel fate? Perform your actions. Most of you guys got this right. Good job. It is first person point of view. And my substantial evidence is what? Those first person pronouns, me and I. Nicely done. Dragon. He stole spark plugs out of people's cars and put firecrackers in people's cigars and stole the clappers from all the church bells and sprung every bear trap for miles around so the bears could wander wherever they pleased. And, top it all off, He changed around all the roads in the kingdom so that people could not get anywhere except by starting out in the wrong direction. What point of view is it? Go ahead and perform your action. Nice job. Everybody got it. Third person objective. My substantial evidence is what? There is no emotion. There is no feeling. Straight facts. Bravo, 8th grade learners. Keep it up. Jared and Krista stood contemplating the stack of sale records to be compiled before they could call it quits for the day. Neither wanted to work late. That was understandable. But Jared liked to ease back and let Krista assume the real burden. He hoped she'd make quick work of it tonight. Little did he know that Krista resented his mere presence. Lazy rat, she thought. He doesn't even know how to enter the basic data, her stomach growled. What point of view is this one? It is third person omniscient. Nice job. My substantial evidence is... thank you, Justin. It actually has it quite a few places. Jared and Krista stood contemplating. And then in the middle, it talks about Jared, how he likes to ease back and let Krista assume the real burden. And it says he hoped. Anytime you see hoped or thought or thinking, those are signals that you're in somebody's mind. And it says, little did he know, Krista resented his mere presence, and she thought. Nice job. I can no longer do this, said Christina. You look at me and all you see is free labor. I feel like I am no longer me, but who you want me to be. Jack's heart grew heavy. He didn't want her to no longer love him, so he decided to not make her work at the ice cream shop. What point of view is it? I'm seeing a mixture between third person limited and third person omniscient. Which one is this one? It is third person limited. But why? What is my evidence? What is my evidence? No one's going to raise their hand on this one? Oh, come on. Okay, thank you, Sarah. Well, that's a good point. You know, Christina's saying I can no longer do this, and you look at me and all you see is free labor. But there is something that those words are set off by. What is around those words? Quotation marks. And when quotation marks are around phrases or sentences, it means that it's dialogue. And we know that. That's nothing new. But we cannot truly depend on dialogue. We cannot depend on dialogue when we're looking at point of view. We need to look at the words that are outside the quotation marks. So if we do that, whose mind are we in? Yes, Jack's. We're in Jack's mind. Good job. So when it said Jack's heart grew heavy and he didn't want, that puts us in his mind. So it is third person limited. Nice job on those sentences. What I would like you to do for your independent practice is to perform the point of view actions for someone in your home. Now, am I going to know if you actually do this? No. And there's no grade attached to it, but we all need a little bit more practice. So what I'd like you to do is for you to go home, perform it for mom, dad, grandma, brother, sister, even if it's baby brother in the crib. Go ahead and do the actions and dazzle them with your intelligence. And then your exit ticket for today, because it looks like the bell is going to ring here in a couple of minutes, you need to perform all the point of view actions for me before you leave the classroom. But here's the catch. If an answer is incorrect, I'm going to send you to the back of the line and you have to try again, because all actions have to be performed with 100% accuracy. So it has to be perfection. But I think we can all do it because there are 6 actions. Before we do it for the exit ticket, one more time, let's do it as a whole group. Ready? First person, I, me, my. Second person, you. Third person, it, he, she. Objective, limited, omniscient. Fabulous. Go ahead and line up at the door, grab your stuff, and let's take care of our exit ticket.